Sir, I just would like to take you back to a year ago when at the same time Dr. Naresh Trehan and I made that impassioned plea at Vignan Bhavan for you to roll back service tax on healthcare. I can tell you that lakhs of people have benefited from that, and we thank you for keeping it in the negative list again. So I think there's hope for Rahul. Your speech was equally impassioned. But having said that, I'd like to bring out where your heart is this year in healthcare was, I think, a clarion call to the country and people in this industry that the country is committed to do more for healthcare, recognize that the government will spend more in that sector, and also encourage industry to continue. 80% of healthcare expenditure in the country comes from the private sector, and the impetus that you've given us, the couple of things I'd like to highlight, has really gone in that direction. Number one, about putting us as a subcategory of infrastructure. Great move. Next year we hope for the full thing. And we'd like to demonstrate to you that this will allow us, every healthcare, whether it's a hospital, a nursing home, even in education, so it's like medical colleges, nursing colleges, the whole plethora will now be able to access infrastructure funding, which is a great benefit, and it should encourage us to put more of these facilities and make healthcare in India a very robust. More than that, you've gone one step further and improving the rate of investment-linked deduction for capital expenditure is now proposed to be from 100% to 150% for hospitals over 100 beds. I think this is another great step. Coming to the individuals, you've increased, you've recognized that there is medical inflation, I mean that the cost of healthcare has gone up, and for that you've increased the deductions. Great step was the 5,000 rupees, but may I just respond to that the 5,000 rupees deduction for medical checkups is only for people who are insured, and only 10% of India is really insured. So you're leaving out the other people, and I think that if this could be freestanding for that 5,000, it would really create the India, which is supposed to be the diabetes capital and the heart capital, the heart disease capital, the cancer capital. All this will really go a long way in helping that. We hope that you'll consider that. And just the last thing I can say is that while the rest of this room and the rest of India might be battling with all the burdens of the economy and the other pressures that they might speak about, I can tell you that you've laid the foundation for at least making India healthier. So we thank you for that one.
Thank you very much. Before I ask my colleague Mr. Gopalan to respond to your question, I would just like to make a general proposition about the taxation proposal which we have done this year. First of all, as I mentioned, that I could not examine in details the recommendations of the Standing Committee on Direct Tax Code because it came too late, and we will have the time to look into it. Some provisions of the DTC I have taken into account, and the apprehension which Rahul has expressed about the misuse of guard, that we shall have to careful and we shall have to take note of it, because job of the income tax department is not that of the policeman, and we are concerned with realization of the taxes, not to sit on the judgment of whether it is a crime or not. But that's a different issue. We shall have to address that. The only point which I am trying, that this year I am hoping on the one hand that we will move to the DTC, where plethora of the exemptions we shall have to give up, and we shall have to address the tax rates, plain, simple, procedure, plain and simple. On the indirect tax side, there is a requirement, I have just mentioned in one sentence in my observations, that there is a need of alignment of the taxes between the central and the state if we want to move to the GST, and in the central taxes between service tax and the excise duties. because the basic principles that both goods and services should have the same rate of taxes compel us to have the alignment, and current year the alignment I have made at 12%. Incidentally, before the crisis, excise duty was not 12%, it was 14%. As a stimulus package, we reduced the rate, and I have reverted back to 12%. Excise service tax also 12%, to have the alignment between the two central taxes. And when we will move to GST, then we will like to have the alignment with the state taxes around that. Now, in respect of the others, I will request Gopalan to respond.
The important aspect this year has been getting the definition for infrastructure for certain sectors identified and listed, so that it is available for all regulators to take them in the same way as the list has been prepared. Now, there is a standing mechanism which will take into account further suggestions for changes to that list, and we are getting a number of suggestions as well, and we will take these issues to the standing mechanism and try and resolve.